Now, the climate change debate that was raised during the week, I mean, let's try and, in a nutshell, identify what it is that Julia Gillard is saying. Here she is.
I will act when the Australian economy is ready and when the Australian people are ready.
So is that it? We are waiting for the world, and that's now unambiguous.
And it was only a few months ago that she was saying, delay is denial. We couldn't afford to wait a day longer. The costs of inaction are greater than the costs. All that rubbish that we've heard for 3 years. And now she's saying we can afford to delay. We can afford to be in denial. And, you know, the costs of inaction aren't that great after all.
On the other hand, you would agree with that approach, wouldn't you? Because it'd be silly to do anything before the rest of the world moved.
Absolutely. But why don't they... What does that say about the last 3 years of lies? What does that say?
I think
this is the point I've been making for 3 years. What's the and Labor and the Liberals have been making recently. That was the position that Julia Gillard, has been denying up to this point. Now, what she has to answer: was she lying then? Is she lying now?
I was just going to make the point that it's interesting, all the focus on this citizens' assembly, which I don't think has gone down all that well. And in fact, there is some suggestion now in Labor that maybe that was a mistake to emphasise that so heavily, because the Liberals have got research that says that people are worried about there being so much talk, things being all about process, not enough action. Of course, we see Tony Abbott's strong action slogan. And it's interesting, there's a new announcement out today about from the government about greening buildings, another environmental announcement, and there's language in that talks about strong climate action. So maybe they're now getting the message that they actually need to be saying concretely what they will do, not just empathising with people, respecting, listening, moving forward.
Well, if you say the idea of the Assembly is not going over very well, the Coalition's certainly enjoying the concept. Here they are.
It's like, welcome down, Tutti Frutti, you've won a prize, you get to select Australia's climate change policy. In the coming weeks, I look forward to other random selections for our foreign affairs policy, our defence policy, and other major parts of the critique of Australian politics.
What we have now is 150 names randomly selected from the phone book. We have the 2020 summit meets the Copenhagen conference.
Look, this whole idea is to create the illusion that the government's doing something between now and 2030 when it might introduce an actual policy. And Penny Wong today on, I think, the 10 network, she was asked about what if this Citizens' Assembly came back with a negative report. She said, well, that would just mean we'd have to try harder to convince them. Well, I mean, this Assembly has no executive powers whatsoever. In fact, it is there to fill this gap.
It's worse than that. Listen to what she had to say on radio during the week. Have a listen to this.
We also, I believe, will make clear through this process that the politicians who are standing in the way of action will really be shown to be out of step with where the majority of the Australian community does want us to go, and that's to act on climate change.
So she's saying in advance this process will have a certain outcome.
Because
how do you achieve that?
I'll tell you how, because we've done it before.
Oh yes, Constitutional Convention.
The Australian newspaper, this process is called the deliberative poll. You select 150 people from the bus stops of Australia, you drag them into a room and you nag them with experts that you personally have chosen. The Australian newspaper did with 350 people in 1999 about the Republican referendum, nagged them for 2 days, and 77% said, yes, we love the Republic. Put it out to the...
They might be a little more selective than that. I think they'll choose people quite deliberately to get an outcome.
It's a farce, it's a joke, and you know where this idea comes from? It comes lifted out of the 2020 summit report of Kevin Rudd. It's about the only idea the government's taken out of that report, and it just shows, from a joke of a summit, an absolute joke of an idea.
Is it going to be random, or is it going to be representative? They talked about getting people from the electoral roll. That's random. That's not going to be representative of all views.
If it's representative, of course, of those 150, 145 of those would rather be somewhere else. 150 probably know nothing about climate change. That's how it should be representative. It's
all right. Well, now